Click that like and subscribe button and go sign up on superchargedstocks.com and let's keep you notified. Good morning, everyone. It's Andrew of Supercharged Stocks. Today, I'm here with Gratomic Inc. This is an interesting story. And we're going to have Arno Brand, who's the CEO and president, walk us through what they're developing, what's been happening, really the year or half year. The stock has risen dramatically, coming out of nowhere. Although to me, coming out of nowhere, not to Arno, of course, who's been working hard behind the scenes for years on this Graphite project. And before we get into all the excitement of what's happening specifically in Namibia with the project and about graphite in general, I just wanted to check in, Arno Brand, and check to see how you're doing, how's life treating you, and how's Corona and COVID been treating you and the company?
Well, good morning, Andrew. Pleasure meeting you, and happy to have the opportunity to talk to you about the great things we're doing at Gratomic. It certainly has been an interesting year. It's definitely going to go down in the record books for one of the craziest years of my time. Corona has given every CEO in the world a runaround. Somehow we've managed to steer our way in the proper direction and keep things on schedule on the Gratomic flagship property, the Outcome Graphite mine in Namibia. It's been a very, very long year, getting towards the final commissioning phases of that 20,000 ton per annum processing plant we've been working on for so long.
To highlight that graphite, although people will think of, like pencil lead, like using my pencils, like, yeah, sure, there's graphite there. This is not quite where we're talking about, though, with the upside of finding the higher purity graphite that's required and needed for, let's say, like the anodes in batteries and whatnot. So maybe walk us through what's the demand for graphite, what's the use of graphite? Where do you see the upside here?
Okay, so I get asked this question a lot. And in graphite, like most other commodities around the world, let's take copper, for instance, it occurs in many forms, shapes and forms across the world. And just as in copper, where grade is the most important thing to set the basis for economic justification, it is in graphite. So in the case of Outcome, where we stumbled upon about 8 years ago, one of the highest grade graphite deposits in the world. And it's a very special, rare form of graphite, the vein graphite, formerly only commercially mined in Sri Lanka. There are other forms of it around the world, but it has not yet been commercially extracted. In Outcome, when we stumbled upon it the first time, we were just amazed by the sheer size of these massive veins and these graphite vein zones, in some places going across 3 meters across the face of the vein as we walked through the underground adits. This is substantially larger than what is currently being commercially mined anywhere else in the world. In Sri Lanka, for instance, I've seen operations in Sri Lanka where people are focusing currently on 50 to 20 centimeter veins, 600 meters below surface. They're mining it commercially, which is phenomenal. It just shows you the value that grade brings to the table. In the case of Outcome, we're sitting at surface, very comfortably at surface at about, average of 42 to 55% graphite. The grade here is key. It minimizes the amount of tampering that you have to do with the graphite before it reaches that final product stage. Graphite is very sensitive in nature. It requires a very specialized, unique grinding process. And, if you overgrind it, you shred it and you ruin the graphite. So, we specialized during our pilot processing period to really optimize the grinding part of the project. And then essentially, through optimizing our grind, we were able to produce a concentrate through that pilot processing facility that hit commercial levels without the requirement of additional acid treatment or heat treatment, which has been conventional in the graphite industry with other sources of graphite. We will focus on the highest, great potential and the highest value potential and products that we can achieve as a company. So that just makes commercially sense.
When you're talking about a continent like Africa, there's countries that are a bit more challenging to work with, say Congo, than say Namibia, and you are Namibian. So for those that don't have any idea about what it's like there or what it's like to work there, to be born there, to live there, maybe walk us through the ease of you getting a product from site to ship to off and what that looks like, because most people won't have any idea.
It's just what they have in Sri Lanka is very special. It's a very unique form of graphite, and coming up and hydrothermal systems opened up, or pathways opening up during an anticline, opening up of an anticline, and wherever the fluid pathways existed, the carbon dioxide and methane precipitated out, within the right environment within that hydrothermal system. Very unique graphite, extremely high grade, down to depths of 600 meters. They're mining about 90% graphite, sometimes as high as 95%. The characteristics cross over into outcome in exactly the same way. There's samples that we've sent to laboratories that have graded as high as 90%. Again, just touching base on that, similarity between, what is currently ground zero for graphite, where you'll find the best graphite in the world, and extrapolating it to what we have at outcome. Namibia is a country, grew up there, lived there for many years until my 20s. My parents had multiple businesses. My dad worked for the Ministry of Agriculture. I would say it's one of the most politically stable countries in Africa. Sometimes I take a hit of the Canadians and say, Namibia's roads are in better condition than Canada. You don't find a pothole in the road. But you know what? They're a small country, 2.5 million people, have had the same political party rule the country since its independence in 1989. It's one of the biggest success stories in UNCTAD, which is wing of the UN's history in Africa. They helped Namibia transition out of war with South Africa, and both South Africa and Namibia, withdrew their involvement in that conflict. And ever since then, the two countries have been operating hand in hand without any disturbance. So, I would say it ranks higher on my list as a country to invest in than Ontario or Quebec.
Yeah.
It's more difficult to put up operations in Canada than it is in Namibia. The country is hungry for investment. It's an open arms government. They invite people in. They, tell investors, come into our country, look for mineral resources. If you find them, we'll support you to get them to develop. And that is, what you need in the resource industry. You need people to have an open book policy. Say, you're going to do things. You're going to invest money in the country. You're going to do things to expedite that process to mining license and development. And not a lot of companies get there. Gratomic has been very fortunate that it's been able to check off most of the boxes in terms of its risk register. Where we are today is, is essentially the result of tens of thousands of hours on the ground trying to figure out what we had. And,
Yeah.
You know what? But having a government that is so proactive, makes a big difference.
That's a big factor whenever you're looking at anything to do with commodities and resources. Is how can we work together with government and parties in the country? And on top of that, I mean, the following part was this: if people don't know, if they go look at a map, this is a coastal country as well. So you've got ports there. So it isn't a matter of, you say you're up in the middle of northern Quebec and you have to, train and transport down. You'll have some transportation, but you also have transportation to market very quickly.
Absolutely. So our mine is located about an hour and a half to 2 hours from port. It's an open port, can handle anything we can throw in it that's got ample capacity. You can basically be ready to ship anywhere in the world within 24 hours.
And a lot of people, when they're new to this, they look at gold, and you hear the same story. Most of the place has been combed over, and if you find a new gold discovery, sometimes it's way out in the middle of nowhere. This isn't the case, obviously, with graphite, and this is kind of highlights the amazing, union between innovation and technology, and literally stuff coming from the ground, metals and mining. Is that if this was 20 years ago, we would be mostly talking about additives for paints and graphite for pencils, things like that. Not as exciting, but the way things have built up and developed, the demand and the need and requirement for graphite has become exceptionally high. And I think I could be wrong, but it is by weight the second most important part of the battery, say in like a Tesla or an electric car. I think it's the second, or it's up there.
It's definitely up there. I mean,
yeah.
The anode makes up the majority of the battery, in some cases as high as 60% of the battery.
Yeah,
and definitely up there. It varies between from battery to battery, but it's definitely majority of the time it's more than 40%.
So let's get to some of the questions that I think people will be, if they're looking at it now, say if they're new, they know it through Andrew, they're excited to see the stock where it's at, and they say, okay, this is exciting. You guys are onto something. What are we looking at now in the near term that we can talk about to keep an eye open for? If we're talking production, what's the time frame? What's the blueprint moving forward? What should people be kind of keeping an eye on to see? Not to keep you accountable, but also the milestones to hit, so that we can kind of see the stock climbing as you hit each step.
We run a pretty successful company and a very well governed company. So we'll never disclose information to the market that we haven't disclosed before, but we also have a very transparent way of running the business. So if anything happens in the company, we inform shareholders immediately. Without it. So we can start off by saying the events as they're mapped out in my mind is, we're focusing on the closing of the purchase of the minority shareholder out of the US. They own 37% of the asset. We went into an arrangement with them whereby we're buying 37% of their company for about 18% of the issued and outstanding stock of Gratomic. It's a very good deal for our shareholders. We spent 15 months working on this, by the way. It's you announce something like this and shareholders will always think, oh my goodness, this is like 5 days sitting around a table. But in these events, it never works that way. Fair days, and classrooms on negotiating tactics and marketing and how to run businesses. And, the best outcome is the outcome that comes from months and months of careful planning. We saved our shareholders $3 to $5 million by doing it ourselves. And, we're going to power through. You guys will see that deal closing very, very soon. And, that's my main catalyst, because now you're dealing with a ship that owns 100% of its Flagstone project, for long board meetings and daily operation meetings and management meetings and scrum meetings, and goes on and on and on. The company effectively decided to, move towards a, pre-feasibility study. This is important. This is, in the works right now. It, has gotten to the point where there is sufficient confidence in operations to completely override pre-economic assessment and roll into a pre-feasibility study. This is, the market expected us to do a PEA. We're coming out, we're doing a PFS. It's not marketing. It's just, we're jumping one significant hoop and replacing it with something that's 10,000 times more tangible. And why can we do that? Because we have the processing plan already built. Okay? So we don't have to sit back and say, oh well, we're gonna produce graphite. And
You can.
This price, we're going to go out and we're going to say, based on the commissioning that we've done, based on the graphite that we put for the circuit, based on the studies we've done at Ortec, based on the studies we've done with Bob Rice, based on the studies we've done with Ian Flip, we are now in a position where we're going to produce graphite at X dollars a ton on true scientific data. And if COVID had told us anything as regular citizens, true scientific data drives the bus.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay? That's it. There's no shortcut. There's no in-betweens. It's all about tangible scientific data. So wet commissioning is, imminent. Wet commissioning can take time. At this very moment in time, I spent, last week, Tuesday, I spent my day in the lab at Ortec. They've been in business longer than I've been alive. A wing of used to be a wing of the government to, really test certain recoveries. They've got I think 100 pilot plants lying in the back of their workshop. A really, really good company. And what they're doing for us is very important. They're showing us that they can replicate the results from the pilot testing independently from the operation. Baby ready.
Yes. Yeah.
What are we going to do to bring the cost down? Okay. And there's multiple things that we can do that will help us, reduce that operating cost over time. And that's our commitment to our shareholders, because we all want to see lowest possible operating cost, maximum possible output.
Yeah, I like how you're like the analogy that the hard work you do right now, because of course there's always going to be people saying, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. It's like, no, slow down. The work we put in right now in testing and retesting and formalizing and completing a plan moving forward, so that we know what to expect, is it's vital to do that now and to slow down, do everything right with what you have, because you've got through the excitement of, oh my gosh, we've got this. Take a step back and ensure that the data is correct. We do this correctly every step of the way, because right now matters. We don't want to go 2 months or 2 years down the road or 6 months down the road and have to go back. It's like, no, do it all correctly, slow it down, get it done. And that whole curve for the stock, and I know I don't ask people to comment on the stock price, but that's a whole other curve once that plan takes shape and starts off on its own again as well.
Absolutely. The metrics that drive stock appreciation post-production looks completely different than the speculation prior to a company going into production. And you're starting to trade on a whole different metric. Yeah. A metric that you do not want to interrupt. Okay, you do not want to have people come point fingers at you because you didn't do things properly during the commissioning phase. You're 100% correct. It's very important people to understand what we're doing today is going to impact the company for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, depending on how long it's around.
Yes. Like you said, that could be tens of billions of dollars in savings, whatever you focus on today.
Absolutely. And business interruption mid-production.
Yeah.
Something like $35,000 a day.
Yeah.
It burns a hole in your pocket real quick.
I was at Minds and Money when the last one just before COVID hit, over a year and a half ago. And I thought, I'm going to ask a bit more interesting questions of people, and you've kind of hinted at it, is that there seems to be a mindset, and I mean the hard and true miners, the ones that have gone through this like years and years of just abuse. There has to be a type of mindset in a person, that's attracted to the sector, like wants to be a CEO of a mine, because it's starting to be good now and things are looking really good. We're hitting this commodity super cycle, but it certainly wasn't that way for years and years. And you hinted at it. Do you think is there a personality type that does stick with it? Like almost like a masochist. Like it's just, say, I'll take the abuse. I'll take the abuse.
You must be really, really fond of taking a beating.
Yes.
Yes. You need to, just it all comes down to the basic principles of good management, right?
Yeah.
Stick to, stick to your goals. What the market does, it does. Balloons will float, they'll come down.
Yeah.
It's all about being a smart investor and following the product. If you're a real investor, you invest in something that is going to be successful, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 years from now. Okay. If you decide to make an investment that's based on the premise of, I love what these guys are doing. They're transparent, they're honest, and they're motivated to achieve goals.
Yeah, and I like to hammer that home because I don't have people, and I kind of encourage them to wade. I don't trade. I never have. When I was at Merrill Lynch, I would often say I'm probably the worst trader. I can see a long-term trend, but I like investing in business. Like I invest, I don't trade. So I want to see a company that, regardless of the price, because sometimes the price might be an indication of how the company is doing. Sometimes it has no bearing whatsoever. But the easier way to analyze is the company has said what they're going to do. They meet it, they match it. They're hitting targets. They're getting good results. They're doing all of these things. To me, it's, well, if the price is dropped, well, I'm getting it cheaper. I'm gonna reward the management, and I'm not looking at it for 6 months or a year. That's not short term for me. Short term is a couple of years, and that kind of work, when you find something that's really good and it has multi years of possibilities. It takes a lot of work to analyze that, but it's a commitment from an investor and you're going to keep investing in it. But to me, I go, if I want to go find another company that's actually doing it, so you're meeting all of these targets, you're hitting the objectives, that's a lot of effort on my part. I'd rather stick and reinvest with a company that's already doing what they're going to say they're doing, because each year they're going to keep on returning.
You get a better chance of finding a needle in a stack of needles. But,
yes, yeah.
Focus on the fundamentals. Management adds value. Okay, there's a reason why these guys keep producing the goods. It's because they know what they're looking for.
Yes.
Or what they have to look for. Then when they find it, they take it.
Yeah.
You need to understand that if you find the right asset, good CEO will do anything in his power to get it, because he knows it's going to work. Done it many times,
You've got some infrastructure. You've got a critical graphite, which is required and needed. There's a strong demand for it. Is it safe to say that this is a company that's going to be completely vertically integrated, right from ground, right to an end user? Is that kind of the goal? Is that where if we're kind of ending off and concluding and wrapping it all up, is that kind of what we're looking at?
You got to take a slow, calculated approach in everything that you do. Focus on building your way up towards, what your end goal is. And then, put in your 10,000 steps, because that's what it takes. Right? You're not going to build a vertically integrated mine in 100 hours. You need 10,000 hours. Okay. Say, now I got it. I checked my professional little box after 10,000 hours, and now you're ready. Don't try to do it early, because you will fail. Now, we can expedite it by putting more and more smart people onto it, and we can take that, 5-year timeline and we can shrink it down to 1.5 to 2 years, right? That's doable.
Yeah.
But it's against other variables. Mine goes in production. We now have cash flow. We now have, X number of dollars a day coming in. We got $500 million of contracts. We can borrow against that. We can use that to our advantage and leverage it to optimize the return for our investors. You do it too early, investors are going to hate you. You do it too late, your investors are going to hate you.
Yes.
Let's focus on finding the medium. And the medium is what works for everybody. The early guys are going to hate you because they want to see it happening immediately. Those are flippers. I don't care about them.
Yeah.
The guys on this side, long-term shareholders, are going to be like, love this company. I want more of it. Every time it dips, I'm going to buy it. I got to buy more and buy more until we own it all, because you know what? Management cares about me.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for, walking us through your kind of mindset, what's happening, the project itself. It's had, like I said, it's been a lot of work to get exceptional results to tell us all about. And we're definitely keen over here to keep an eye out to see what is happening next. Some of these key milestones that you mentioned as well, and we'll keep in touch with you. But this is definitely, I've been looking for a graphite company to look at again, and this is certainly an exciting story and an exciting, it's got all the components. It's got all those milestones and check boxes that we talk about, the ones that I need to see whenever I talk about a company, but also to hear, you've got your own check boxes you got to meet for management to meet the expectations of investors. And I love to hear that as well. So thanks for helping to educate us, telling us about the story and this unique opportunity. And I really appreciate the time.
Andrew, thank you so much. It's actually been a real pleasure.
Thanks.
I don't really enjoy interviews as much as I enjoyed this one. You're a great host and lovely to talk to. Thank you for the time.
Thanks so much, Arno. Have a great day.
You too, man. Thank you.
Click that like and subscribe button and go sign up on superchargedstocks.com. Let's keep you notified.